So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how do you dress up for multi-million dollar meetings. Okay, these could be meetings that has a ticket value of millions of dollars. And so just a quick introduction of myself if you're new to this channel. In the last 3 years, I have negotiated a $3.5 million deal, a $10 million deal, a $25 million deal, a $120 million deal, and a $140 million deal. I have also managed to bring together some of the most high-profile executives in UAE to be my business partners, including the former CEO of a $3.5 billion company, a lawyer that has advised on a $13.5 billion transaction, and individuals that advise billion-dollar conglomerates, and advise family offices that own, billion-dollar portfolios. So those are the types of people that are now my business partners. I might add that I am 29 years old, and I dropped out of college. I did not go to college, and I straight away went to business. Okay, I did not finish college. I went to college for 2 years, and then I decided to drop out and go full-time into business. And there are secrets that I discovered through various mentors that I've had over time. And I've spent quite a lot of money on courses, books, and my personal development, and spent thousands of hours training myself for these types of situations. And now I have found myself in a position where I'm surrounded by these high-profile executives, and my exposure on deals has gone into millions. So I have managed to put myself in a position where on a very regular basis, for a good 2 to 3 years, I was meeting multimillionaires on a very regular basis, individual entrepreneurs that have built multi-million-dollar businesses. And I was meeting them, and I was negotiating with them, and I was dealing with them on a very regular basis. I have even been to their homes, and they have invited me there, and most of the time at the beginning, I wasn't prepared for those meetings. I had never been in those situations ever before in my whole life, and I didn't know how to conduct myself, and I was extremely nervous, and I was confused. I wasn't comfortable with numbers. Numbers made me very confused. And so I was a very nervous kid who was just making the cold calls and setting up these meetings, and just kind of going there human to human, trying to figure out the transaction, trying to figure out negotiation. And sometimes I would get it right, sometimes I would not get it right. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing how do you dress up for these meetings, and how you dress up says a lot about you. And a lot of people talk about what to say and how to say it, but they don't talk about how to dress up. And that's, in my opinion, one of the most important things, because the amount of weight that you have in the conversation is determined by how you look. Whether you like it, whether you not like it, whether you agree with it, whether you disagree with it, we live in a world where you are judged. People judge the book by its cover. You are judged by the way you look, and people tend to judge you in a superficial manner. Nobody knows your life story when they meet you for the first time. Nobody knows where you came from. Nobody knows what your qualifications are. And very rarely in business meetings, I have been asked about my qualifications. Okay, they do ask about what's your background, and I usually say I have been in business, which I have, but nobody asked me what degree that I did, what degree that I do, I have. Nobody has asked me that question. What they do see is how I look, okay? And how you want to dress up is in a three-piece suit. And you want a nice tie, and you want a pocket square, and you want to look like $1 million, okay? And you want to buy suits which are outside of your comfort zone. So when I was starting out, I did not have a lot of money, and I did not have a lot of budget. So I still expanded my comfort zone, and I got nice suit. And this has gone a long way. Now, some of you might say, okay, suit is a depreciating item, so why should I invest in a suit? It's going to go down in value. I cannot resell it. I understand that, and for most things, I do think like that. But when it comes to suits, this is an investment. Okay, you're making a statement about yourself. This is also a way to gain authority in business meetings. If you dress very casually, it's not going to give a good impression about you. You even may be very serious as an entrepreneur, but you will not be perceived in a serious manner. I have found many times I have gained tremendous amount of leverage just because I was wearing a suit, a three-piece suit, and the person in front of me was in a t-shirt. I've had meetings on golf courses where individuals come in their t-shirt and in a very casual attitude, and they see me in a three-piece suit, and suddenly they get nervous, and they feel off guard, and they feel nervous, and they feel shameful of themselves. It works on a very subconscious level, and they feel like apologizing, and they start apologizing. And it's a very funny experience, because maybe in your environment, and especially in my environment, how I grew up, if you wear a three-piece suit, you would be made fun of, and you would be told that you are overdressed and you are overqualifying and you are doing it too much. But in the business world, it has the opposite effect. If you wear this nice suit, people actually provide you with authority, and people who are already in positions of authority, they take you seriously. For example, the first time I met the CEO of a $3.5 billion company, I was wearing a three-piece suit with a pocket square, and the moment I entered the room, he immediately saw me, and it attracts attention. So he immediately saw me and he noticed me. I wasn't sitting on a corner, and I wasn't someone who did not have presence. Okay, I did not have the track record he has, but he had at that time, but I had presence. And when you have presence, you look like someone, you feel like someone, and people perceive you as someone. They either perceive you as someone or someone yet to be. I have been told many times in business meetings, Prithvi, I feel you're going to be a billionaire. Prithvi, I feel you're going to have a private jet. Prithvi, I feel, so people give you this feedback, and it's an extremely powerful tool, and it's a very important thing. So should you dress up in all the meetings in a three-piece suit? Absolutely yes. You should dress up in all the meetings in a three-piece suit. This should be your uniform, because as my mentor Dan Pena says, perception is reality. And even this advice is really coming from him. And I am sharing my experience of what happened when I followed and implemented this advice. My whole experience changed. I used to go to this hotel in Palm Jumeirah called the Fairmont Hotel. And before I started to get involved, before I got involved in doing $1 million deals and negotiating $1 million deals, I was dressing up very casually to this hotel. And this time when I started to implement my mentor's advice, I started to wear a three-piece suit. And one day I just walked in and everybody was just sort of nodding at me, hello sir, welcome back sir, how are you sir? And just having that shift of response from people around you changes everything. I would go to some bars to have a drink, and again I would be dressed very casually, and that's just how I like to dress, very casually. But this time when I started to implement the advice, even women were looking at me, other men were looking at me, and it felt like everything that I said had value. Everything that I said had power. And for some reason, I felt it instinctively that people are listening to me. And sometimes those people who dress up very casually, and even if they are saying something valuable, it's almost like they're trying to reach the other person. The person is not giving them a listening ear. But when I was wearing a suit, I noticed that people wanted to hear what I had to say, and people were curious about what I had to say. And that's that's leverage that you have when you wear a three-piece suit. And you can experiment this, but it's important to buy a suit that's outside of your comfort zone. I can recommend some brands. If you don't have a lot of money, then you could go with Hugo Boss. If you have a little bit more money, you could go for Palzelleri. It's an Italian brand. This is Palzelleri, by the way. And I tried to get a suit from Tom Ford. A lot of people say Tom Ford is Tom Ford has great suits. I love the brand, but I just didn't think the suits were as good as Palzelleri. Even though Tom Ford is much more expensive than Palzelleri, I still feel Palzelleri was really good for the price, especially for the price, because it's much less than Tom Ford, and it looks much better for some reason. Okay. Now I'm sure there are many suits in Tom Ford, and it'll have some premium material that looks better. Maybe if you do a bespoke suit, then it's going to look better. I didn't go that route. I went with Palzelleri. So if you don't have the money, start with Brooks Brothers. If you have a little bit more, you can start with Hugo Boss. Then if you can go a little bit higher, it's Palzelleri. This suit is a couple of $1,000s. Then you have Tom Ford, which is around $4,000-$5,000. And then if you want to really push it forward, you could go to Hermes. Hermes suit some of them can cost around $30,000. But the real top of the top in suits are Savile Row suits, Savile Row, London. You can Google it. They make suits for the royalties, okay, the actual royals in London. These tailors make suits for royal family members in London, in UK. And they have the best suits, okay, arguably the best suits. They have been featured in Robb Report, and I'm going to be wearing those suits very soon. It's like a dream suit, okay, it's a dream look, and that whole suit is designed to provide you authority. And if you wear those suits, you will see the type of difference it makes in business meetings. So you want to put some time and effort into understanding about different types of suits, different types of cuts, and tailoring, and see and implement and see what difference it makes. And you will see especially when you have a three-piece suit with a tie and a pocket square, you'll have an incredible effect. I would not have been able to put myself in a position to be exposed to these kinds of multi-million-dollar deals, even $100 million transactions, if I wasn't wearing a three-piece suit. I doubt it that people would take me seriously, especially considering my age. And I definitely would not have been able to network with a CEO of a $3.5 billion company, and I would not have been able to bring together such high-profile individuals if I wasn't wearing a three-piece suit. Okay. Now, obviously, I had a very powerful value proposition. I had something that had validity, the business model, and but business model will only come out of you in communication once they have agreed to take a meeting with you. And the reason they would agree to take a meeting with you is if you are perceived as someone who is serious, someone who is capable, someone who is treats himself with respect, and someone who looks the part. And that's the first thing that they see, is how you treat yourself. Because if you don't think that you are someone of value, then how can something of value come from you? So you're really sending a message that you value yourself. Because really all of this is a way to decorate yourself, to position yourself as an important person in the world. And you can experiment this. You will feel like an important person when you wear a suit, and your self-esteem is going to rise. How people perceive you will rise. They will give you more authority. They will listen to what you have to say, and whatever you say will have impact and power. Okay. So make sure that you get a suit which is outside of your comfort zone. Instead of buying 7 or 8 suits, it's better to have 2 or 3, and just see the difference, what happens. So if you like the video, hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you soon.